was the transition from college to pro? Like, was it major for you, or you think you had enough
Um,
development to help you bridge the gap?
yeah, I think I had enough development because Georgetown is actually my years there. We had really good team. Ended up, I think, six out of the starting 11 from that year went on to play pro.
Bro.
So yeah, it was a really good group and it was great. And because I mean my strength and my speed wasn't a problem to keep up with people, but the one thing that I found hard was the speed of play.
Yeah, yeah,
Because you realize that in college and high school and
yeah.
club, you have so much time to think and to do things, and then all of a sudden, you don't you don't have that much time to think
Mm.
and do things. And so the biggest adjustment for me was the speed of play when I went into preseason, and that comes with time. I mean, that's just something that I'd say most people that start playing professionally, will struggle with it, but that came in no time, and that for me was the biggest adjustment because everything else, I mean, is the same. It's the same way of playing, and the same. You have to play, you have to move, you have to do all the basic things right,
Yeah, yeah.
which I already knew, but it was just the speed of play.
The pace,
And
yeah,
again,
yeah.
you're in a team where a coach might want you to do things differently. You have your formation and all of that, and so just getting adjusted to that
Yeah.
and learning who your teammates are, what their tendencies are, how each person is and their play and all that stuff, putting it together. Um, those were the hardest things to figure out. But again, you always have a lot of people around you that will carry you through. A lot of veterans that actually I was fortunate to have in Philly that were always there to help me out when I needed it.
True. You played quite a bit your first year, innit?
Yeah, my first year I played quite a bit. That was actually my best year in Philly.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I played quite a bit, and it's kind of it's crazy because I remember playing in some games and looking at guys and you're like, holy crap, like this is a guy that I used to watch on TV, and I
Yeah.
used to admire a lot, and all of a sudden you're playing against him, and
Uh,
it's crazy, and then you're oh crap, this is a game I'm playing against him.
yeah.
And so, I mean, those were really unique moments for me, sharing fields with guys that I grew up watching and admiring, and all of a
Yeah.
sudden you're on the same field with them. So it was great. It was great. But then again, you get to a point where you realize, we're all on the same field, and although you respect those people, but at the end of the day, it is what it is.
It is what it is. Yeah, yeah. How did you how many okay, how many fans or how many people came to watch your games at Georgetown, like on average?
Whew. On average, I would say maybe 2,000, but when it was a playoff game, it was much more. But
Yeah.
on average, almost 2,000.
Do you get affected or does it feel any different when you're playing in front of loads of fans? Like for instance, let's say your debut was obviously there's a lot of things running through your mind.
Mhm.
But like did it feel like weird playing in front of so many people or nah?
Oh, you definitely feel it. I mean, if anyone tells you for their debut that like you don't feel the fans, and that doesn't not necessarily affect you, but if you don't recognize that as a factor
Yeah.
in what's going on, that's a lie. Because
Yeah.
I made my debut against Seattle in Seattle.
Oh, yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah,
and
yeah.
that's. I mean, it was a great place to make my debut, but it's also the worst place to make my debut
Yeah.
because they packed that stadium every game,
All the
and
time, yeah.
I felt like on the field there was an amplifier because you could literally hear the fans, and it was crazy because my other center back I couldn't even understand what he was saying, and we're like even when we're like 20, 30 yards away, it was that loud. But at the end of the day, you just got to trust yourself and know that you were prepared enough and you're there because you deserve to be there
Yeah, yeah.
and you're good enough to be there, and kind of tune all that out. Um, but yeah, I mean, I was excited, a little bit nervous,
Yeah.
but once the game kicks off, that's it,
You
and
just have to start playing, innit?
my God, yeah, what an enjoyable moment. I mean, although we're playing on the road, it felt really good. Just like seeing all, like looking around and seeing all these people and them, chanting and I mean, really good experience. But again, like I said, it's a great place to make your debut. It's also the worst place to make your debut because you have 30,000 plus fans
Yes.
screaming and yelling. But yeah, no, the crowd definitely, especially in my first few games. But after that, you kind of get used to things that you don't even. It's not a bother anymore.
Mm-mm-mm.
Yeah, first few games, I definitely did feel the crowd, but after that, it was never an issue.
Did you know coming in to the season that like there was a possibility that you were gonna start and play like loads of games? Was that ever a conversation or it kind
Yeah,
of
I mean, I kind of expected that just from the meetings that I had, and my because Philly had to trade to get that pick to pick me, and I'm someone that they kind of saw as a prospect, as someone that they were gonna use, and
yeah,
so
straight away? Yeah, okay.
yeah, and so I did know that going in. I think that also built my confidence a little bit going in, because knowing that
Yeah.
I'm actually needed here instead of just because the thing with GS is really being a GS tricky. Teams will just pick you up sometimes just because you are young and you're a good prospect and you don't cause anything to the team. Because
Oh,
you don't hit the salary cap. Your salary is not paid by, it doesn't come from the team's budget. And so for the team, it's not a risk. If you pick a young talent up and they turn out great,
you're
awesome.
laughing, isn't it?
Yeah, if they don't, it doesn't affect you in any way because you're not losing money on the person. So
D
it's tricky.
Damn. What? So hold on. So how long does your GA contract like last? And does is it always under the same stipulations, like in terms of like it never counts towards the salary cap?
Yeah, well, not never. I mean, you graduate from the class. So most GS will most likely graduate probably 3 years after,
Yeah.
which is what happened to me. You graduate 3 years after after your contract, and it depends. Each year, some GS come in with 2 years, some 3 years. So
Oh,
it
hold on. So the GA lasts until you finish your education.
not necessarily. I think I have to look at the rules, but it's I think it depends on a lot of things like the number of games you've had, the number of
Oh,
years. I don't know if age is a factor. There's just a lot of things that you know counts, and that most of the time it's not is determined. Your graduating from the class is
mm,
determined by the league, and so
oh,
but mostly, yeah, if you come in after 3 years, you are going to graduate from the GA class, and
okay.
once you do, if the team retains you, now you're going to start hitting the salary cap. So,
Uh,
but yeah, for my first 3 years, I was essentially a free player for Philly.
damn. That's
Yeah,
that's
it's a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing and a curse
yeah,
because
that's what I was gonna say. Cause like on one side, like you're always like taken care of, but on the other side, like that
yeah,
yes,
I
I'm
mean,
wanted, but I'm also
yeah,
like
I mean, and
yeah.
if a team is not playing you and you want to go somewhere else, you're screwed because why let the free guy go? It's it's
Oh,
yeah, it's tricky. It's again, it's great, but the other side of it that people don't realize, it can be really tricky when it comes to a lot
like
of other things.
rules
Yeah,
and regulations and ways in and out and stuff like that.
yeah,
Damn.
yeah.
So how was the rest of your time at Philly then over the next 3 years?
Uh, it was uh, it was okay because I ended up first my first year, like we talked about a lot. My second year, I was supposed to be the starter. I was supposed to be like right from the get go, and unfortunately in preseason I did my shoulder for I was out for I think 4 months,
Shush.
and I came back and a lot of the season was already gone, and so I played a few games here and there, but it was quite never the same because I felt like I was at a speed where everyone else was already into the season and I was now starting. I still
Uh,
played a few games here and there, and then my last year in Philly, because I wasn't I wasn't playing, and I like I said with the GA stuff, I wanted to leave, but the team wouldn't let me go.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
I was essentially just stuck in Philly for a year. But my last year I was just there.
Sheesh.
It's, yeah, but
I
overall,
think,
I mean, it's a good experience though because it was my first professional club. Had some good moments there. It's as a young pro, there are things that you always learn
yeah,
about yourself, about the industry, and again, it's tough because it's like if you've never had an experience with something, it's hard to know what exactly it entails. But once you
yeah,
do, you kind of begin to figure the ins and outs of the trade. And I think that experience actually helped me a lot, kind of figure out who I am and what exactly our industry it's about and how it can be from a lot of angles. And so definitely a time that made a lot of good memories there. And it's helped build me, to where I am now.
yeah, for sure. So obviously now your time has gone at Philly. Why San Antonio? Did you not want to stay in the MLS, or was that a
I
choice? And
did.
how did you make that decision?
Yeah, no, I did, but it was tough for me to stay out due to a lot of reasons. Reasons that I mean, on a personal level, I'll share with you one on one. But
Yeah, 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 yeah.
yeah, and so I mean, I ended up and I said, okay, I mean, after not playing like really for a year, I needed to go to a place where I could get games regularly,
Nice.
and San Antonio was a place that could provide me with that to kind of get games under my belt again. Because I didn't want to just sign an MLS contract and be in a situation where you were just a backup because, of course, you don't have anything to prove your worth in the past year. And
Yeah,
so I wanted to kind of go to a place where I would be able to have games under my belt and to kind of get myself going again. And so San Antonio came in. I didn't really know much about the USL, to be honest, and I
yeah,
didn't know much about San Antonio. But when I spoke to, which it was during last year, he seemed, again, just like my Georgetown coach, was honest and straightforward with me. And so I ended up signing here, and it was a pretty good year. And I've enjoyed my time here so far.
yeah, yeah, for sure. So let's speak into maybe the not so good moments about your career and stuff. How did you deal mentally with the injuries? Obviously, they came at a time where like your football was coming up, and now
Mm-hmm.
like it. So how did you deal with it mentally? Like, who did you get advice from? Like, how did you keep
Man,
yourself like level in
it's
it?
it's one of the toughest things I've had to deal with because even when I was in Philly, that was one of the problems that I ran into in Philly because I put together like 5, 6, 7 good games and then there'd be an injury and then I have like 2 weeks, 3 weeks to recover and I come back put together 1, 2, 3, 4 games and then I'm out again. So I was never able to consistently put games together and consistently build myself up. And I think if it wasn't for those injuries, I probably would have either been in Philly right now or still be in MLS. And it's hard to say because I mean injuries do happen.
Yeah,
Injuries do, and even like last year, where I had a lot of games, I played 32 games in a row, and then all of a sudden I'm like, oh wow, I'm gonna have a season without injuries, and of course, an injury happens, and so it's tough. But again, what can you do about it? It's already happened. The only thing you can do is make sure that you do your rehab and you kind of get past that to get yourself back on track. And when I was in Philly, one of the guys that I actually talked to a lot, I don't know if you know who Maurice Edu is.
yeah, 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 yeah.
Yeah, so Mo was someone that I was really close with in Philly. And when I was there, he was injured as well. But he would come in every day really happy and grateful. And there was one time I remember I looked pissed, and he's like, "Why do you look so pissed?" I'm like, "Because I'm injured and I can't play." It's like, "Well, I've been injured for months now, but I come in here every day. I do my rehab. And so he kind of gave me a different perspective about it. You could either sit there and cry about it,
Yeah,
or say this is not fair, or say whatever you have to say, or you can actively do things to get yourself better, to
yeah,
get back on the field. And so, that's something that he taught me from hanging with him in the training room. And he's actually someone that I used to talk to a lot. always advised me because obviously he had a really good career, playing the EPL and all that.
Yeah.
And so he gave me a fresh perspective on that. The injuries are going to happen, but it's how you deal with them afterwards. And so again, when I'm injured, from anytime now, I look at it as a challenge. I look at it as, how can I get past that? What can I do to recover quickly so I can come back and keep going? And there are some people that are fortunate that will play their whole life without any major injuries.
Yeah.
I had a teammate like that in Philly that played through. He was like 36 or 37, and never really, when I was in Philly, I never really saw him have a major injury.
What a
People
life.
are fortunate like that. Sometimes you can do whatever you can and you still get injuries. It's
Mm.
At the end of the day, you can say you are lucky or unlucky, but it's how you deal with what comes next.
True. And let's say per se, how did you deal with, I would say, the hype? Like, let's say, because obviously at Georgetown, you already knew that there
Yeah,
was ideas of you getting drafted, or when you went to Philly, you already knew
yeah.
that they had intentions of playing you. How did you deal with that hype? How did you get yourself back to a level head where you knew that, yes, despite all of this, like I still need to perform anyway?
Yeah, I mean, for me, it's, people can talk, people can say what they have to say. And I hope that if you ask people that know me, the one thing that they will say is that I'm humble. I'm not going to go around, bragging about things. And when times are good, yeah, you're going to have people talk. When times are bad, you're going to have people talk. And
Yeah,
so you have to know yourself and who you are, where you want to go. Because it's the same thing when people sign their first professional contract and they go, I've made it. No, it's the work begins. There's
yeah,
always work to do. There's always, and I always say, there's a reason why the best footballers in the world still practice every day and are still striving to either maintain where they are or even get better. There's
yeah,
a reason why the richest man in the world is still working.
yeah.
Just
True.
because I'm getting drafted, I'm getting a few good games and a few good praise doesn't mean I've made it. It's just the beginning. There's always a way for me to move forward. There's always a way. There's always something bigger that I can do. And so for me, that kept me humble. And I know where I'm from. I know my background. And I know where I'm coming from, where I've been, and where I want to go. And so for me, I like it when people praise me and all that, but at the end of the day, it means a lot, but it also doesn't mean much.
True, true. If you could go back and change anything in your career so far, what would it be?
Those name injuries. I mean, if that's something that I could prevent, if that's something that I could stop. But again, I mean, because we always try to kind of forget about the bad things and remember only the good things. But
Yeah,
I feel like every thing that happens in life is a learning experience.
yeah,
If you choose to look at it that way, because that's the only way you learn. It's like if you win a lot of games and then you lose one game, yeah, it's tough, because you don't want to lose.
mm,
But it's also always a moment for you to learn and reflect. And so even the bad moments that I've had, the tough moments, I still look at it as good learning experiences,
mm,
as experiences that are going to guide my actions and thoughts going forward. And I think, yeah, that's the only way. The only way you learn is by doing,
yeah, for sure.
and making those mistakes or going through those difficult times. Because if you talk a lot of any successful person, no one ever has it easy. There are people that get to a point where even almost at their breaking points, and they're always people that choose to push through
Yeah,
it always come up on top. And so, yeah, again, it will be the injuries, but even with that, I think it's taught me a lot about myself and my environment and people and all that stuff. Because you find out how strong you are when you're struggling, when you feel like
yeah.
you've hit rock bottom, and you have to pick yourself up, because if you don't do it, I mean, trust me, no one else is going to do it for you.
Bro, tell me about that one. Oh my
Yeah, I
goodness.
mean, no, because it's just the way it is. When things are going good for you, everyone is your friend. Everyone is there for you. You
Yeah,
have a lot more help when you're doing well. But when hard times come, yeah, you're always going to have people. And for me, I've been fortunate to have a good support system where I've always had people in my corner that are loyal, that will do anything they can to help me out.
Yeah.
But you kind of learn quickly that when things get hard, your circle becomes much smaller, and those are the
Yeah.
people that you keep around. And but yeah, no, everything is a good learning experience for me. That's how I look at it, and will help me a lot going forward, because then I have the experiences and the kind of the toughness from going through all that stuff.
No, nice. If you could give like one piece of advice to any young people like coming up and wanting to pursue football as a career, like what would you like say to them?
That's a tough one. Because
Because
I'm
I've
kind of I'm the sort of person that if you ever ask me, because I've had a lot of people, like, even people that I don't know will randomly message me on Instagram, and oh, I see that you're playing professionally, like, I want to become a professional. What should I do?
yeah, it's mad, isn't it?
It's be true to yourself.
Yeah,
It's because I feel like it's easy to get lost in our industry of trying to be someone else. And I know that's kind of a cheesy saying, be yourself. I don't, it's,
yeah,
but be who you are, because everyone is special. And I always, again, I always give the example of, even if you take two people that play the same position, you're gonna find that, yeah, they do play the same position. They do, I don't know, they have to do the same job, but each of them have, has a really unique set of skills. And
yeah,
there's something, if we both play center back, for instance, there's stuff that I can do that you cannot do. There's stuff that
yeah,
you can do that I cannot do. And so figure those things out, kind of stay true to yourself, and don't let the outside world, because that's what I found, like, there's just letting things that happen around me influence me, in my actions and in my decisions. But
yeah,
at the end of the day, times that I've been successful are times that I like, this is me, this is how I'm gonna do things,
yeah.
and I'm gonna stick with that. I'm just gonna be me, and if you like it, great. If you don't, hey,
That's what it
that's
is.
feedback. And so just having that attitude, because it's easy. Again, obviously, people always know you have to work hard, you have to be dedicated to whatever you do, but that's something that everyone knows.
Mm.
But if you can stay true to yourself and your goals, and you don't change whether things are going well, what things are not going well, that will take you far. Because again, people change based on their circumstances, but if you can stay true to yourself in every situation, that will carry you far.
No, for sure. Hey, thank you so much giving us your time, man. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, no, it's great catching up. It's always nice talking.